In 1985, when Mr. Lee Stevens began teaching at Atholton High School, there were 11 students signed up for band. Instrumental and vocal music were operating as separate entities, each drawing a mere 25 to 30 people per concert. Now, 11 years later, band and choir have developed into one department with over 250 members, a presence felt by the entire school. First place trophies line the walls of the band room from competitions up and down the East Coast. This year alone, the marching band traveled to the Atlantic Coast Championships, and the Symphonic Wind Ensemble and Jazz Band competed in New York City. Music, for Mr. Stevens' students, has become so much more than a class or a hobby, just by virtue of the fact that he has shown them how much it means to him. He displays emotions like no other teacher, and because he is so emotional, there is no doubt in the minds of his students how much his job, their abilities, and they as people mean to him. And they love him for it, they respect him for it, and they push themselves to new levels because of it. It is with great pleasure that I now present to you Mr. Lee Stevens, Atholton High School Band Director and Outstanding Teacher of the Year for the class of 1996.
Thank you, Laura, for those kind words. Check will be in the mail. Thank you, class of 96, for one of the most thrilling opportunities and the most meaningful awards of my entire life. So what does it all mean? Why is this day supposed to be any different than any other day? What in the world is a pomp and circumstance anyway? I mean, that was the name of the chart we played while you guys walked in here, you know. It's nice to know what we played. Well, a pomp is a vain or ostentatious display and a procession. A circumstance is a formal display. So you just displayed yourselves in a vain and ostentatious way, but in a formal setting. Way to go. So why do this when we graduate? What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is not really tonight. The big deal is not really the diploma. The big deal is what you've been able to do over the last 18 or so years. The big deal is what your parents have been able to accomplish over the last 18 or so years. They're still alive, you know, most of them. You have so many accomplishments. For example, how about rolling over? Took you about a month to learn that, you know. You probably don't remember. How about standing up without falling on your face? That took some time. There's a major accomplishment. How about your first step? And the next several months and the next several steps? Consider tying your shoes. Most of us got it right. How about potty training? Never mind. And let's not forget those of you who spent much effort learning how to manipulate the so-called system. They're the ones that are laughing. And they actually believed that you had convinced your parents and teachers and administrators that your excuses really mattered. How about the ability to think and solve problems for yourselves without help from anyone else? And what about the ability to find answers without any help from anyone else? The list is far too numerous to go on, but those are some more reasons why we are here pomping and circumstancing all around. Our society has found it necessary to establish milestones and goals to help us get from one stage of development to another in our personal evolution. These are times in our lives to reflect upon and pat our respective and collective backs for learning how to survive and for learning how to put up with a lot of stuff. We parents went through similar barriers that you have encountered on your journey so far. You may find that not to be believed, but it's true. We also wrestled with similar rules that we tried to break, and why does everybody hate me syndromes. We have tried to help you avoid some of those. We also helped you to confront some more, but basically, we only hope that you will enjoy a more productive and richer life than we have had. I know that you might find that hard to believe too sometimes. We teachers have also gone through similar obstacles, with few exceptions. For example, we don't have homes, we live in school, and we don't shop. I honestly think sometimes that many of you think I was born at 50 and already as handsome and brilliant as I am tonight. Well, it's not true. I've been this way for a long time. I was born, though, at a very early age. You see, moms and dads, they're very quick. And when seen in my incubator, because I was born in the 7th month, I needed out quick. We had things to do and places to go. When seen in my incubator by my mother's closest of friends, who was overheard to say, this is a true story, to my mother, "Oh, Dorothy, at least your son doesn't look like that chicken, dead chicken over there in that incubator." Of course, she was referring to me and didn't know it. So talk about overcoming obstacles. That's been something to do. So getting back to the concept of graduation, what does it all mean? Mr. Webster defines graduate as gradual change. Change. I guess that's why some speakers refer to this occasion as beginning and not the end of something. Well, I'd like to see it as another signal for us to change. Change is good. How boring would it be if we all stayed the same forever? And it's quite impossible. The world's changing as we speak. This is why I choose to reflect and focus on the process rather than the outcome. The whole road, the whole last 18 years, or however many we have. What we are really being all pomp and circumstance about tonight is what we have managed to successfully handle, come to grips with, and endure during the last 18 years or so. The road we have traveled along with the potholes, turns, warnings, detours. This celebration must also include your folks, your teachers, your administrators, everybody that's been supportive with you. We're all here to celebrate change because we're all changing, not to wish you luck in the future, but rather to wish you confidence to courageously gather more skills and learn how to learn. Change can be a frightening thing, though. Think about it for a few seconds. Time's up. You are about to experience something brand new. You've never been here before. Starting tomorrow, it's all new. You don't have any knowledge about it. You are totally ignorant. You've never been here before. Suddenly, you are very motivated to learn as much as you can and as fast as you can. For the first time, perhaps, the grade is not the motivating force behind studying or improving. It's to survive. Most of you out there are at least a little unsure and sad about leaving a place where you feel comfortable and know everyone, even if you think you know where you're going. 8 or 9 years ago, you were halfway to where you are now. And it really doesn't seem that long ago either, does it? Did you know where you were going to be when you became 18 then? You know now that you couldn't possibly know what you now know, but you were already looking forward to graduating. But when it came time for you to leave middle school and go to high school, you were just a little uneasy, weren't you? Some of you were terrified. As a matter of fact, we see it coming in every year. The 9th graders come to visit. You know, you see them in the hallways, acting rather strange. These fears and uncertainties are revealed in many different ways, and I'd like to take a few minutes right now to show you some of those. So if you could please dim the house lights, and we're going to show a few slides up here. Here we see a group of 9th graders. You'll have to turn around in order to see this, people on the dais here. You'll see a group of 9th graders talking as loud as they can and all at the same time because they each think their input is most important, and the louder it's stated, the better understood it is going to be. Here we see a sophomore entering the Best Excuse of the Month Club with his teacher. You see, they're already practicing how to manipulate the so-called system. Here we see the same teacher telling the student that the excuses are like noses. Everybody's got one. This is one of my favorites. Here we have a 6'7", 350-pound young man, happens to play in my band, lifting a 5'11", 125-pounder over his shoulders. I shouldn't show you this one because one of the boys lost his shirt in the struggle. And our new principal at the time, Mr. Plunkett, was getting calls from the Board of Education while it was going on, and he was sure he was going to lose his job, but hey, it's okay. It was Jello wrestling, moms and dad, not to worry. Hold me back. Here we find a freshman with enraged hormones chasing a little girl round and round until she lets him catch her, and then he wrestles her to the floor. This is a flattering form of establishing a meaningful and new relationship, and will definitely go over big at the first stockholders meeting. Under the heading of communication skills, we now see one young woman who happens to be a junior, telling her peer mediator that she was told by her friend that her friend's friend told her best friend that her boyfriend heard that her friend was going to beat her up if she didn't apologize to her girlfriend's boyfriend. If you look very hard, you will see the guidance counselor over in the corner over there. Her eyes are spinning around in opposite directions at the same time. You can bring the house lights back up, please. Control yourselves. There's more. So what will you be tempted to act like next fall or in 2 years when you are confronted with potentially frightening situation? Now you're 18, halfway to 36. See, for me, that seems pretty young. Do you really know where you're going to be when you're 36? Very few people can say that now. Very few people can say that they are doing exactly now what they thought they were going to do when they were your age. I am one of those lucky people. One of my students asked me this year, Mr. Stevens, did you think you were ever going to have a band that sounds this good in your life? And I said, absolutely. Are you kidding? This has been a dream I've had since I was fortunate enough to be in a band that was like this. So this doesn't come as a surprise at all. I've worked a long time for this. I couldn't wait to be able to share great music and good feelings with thousands of students. It must be a great way to live my life, I thought, and I was absolutely right. It's incredible. Getting up to go to work for me is an exciting event every day. I look forward to it, and I hope when you finally get to choose the job or occupation that you want to do, you feel the same way about it. And if you don't, find another one. Be careful what you wish, though. It may come true. And be careful of one particular word. Be careful it doesn't creep into your vocabulary. Well, you can't, I was told. There's that word. You see, the Russians had put this little thing up in the space called Sputnik. And as a result, they were telling me, you can't major in music education because they're not going to have music education in the schools. They're not going to have art education or physical education because we got to catch up to the Russians. See where that got us. Fortunately, I had some of the best teachers in the world and very, very supportive parents, which is quite unusual considering no one in my family attended high school, let alone graduated from one. If we could have those house lights again, I'd appreciate it. Dim them. I'd like to share some more intimate moments with you for just a minute. It's back up here, guys. Oh, sorry. I get this one upside down every time. There's always one in the show that I get upside down. This particular one is fascinating. This is the one that Mr. Plunkett really should have got a hold of because this is the one that ended up in the Washington Post. There you see his assistant principal and I embracing while standing knee-deep in Jell-O. That's embarrassing. I'm sorry, Mr. Plunkett. Hold me back. Here I am humoring my own parents by pretending to study real hard. None of you out there I know has ever done that. Here I am explaining to my mother how dumb the teacher was to award me a failing grade for the class that I was not studying for. Here's a great shot of me convincing my dad that I was too sick to go to school one day. Here's my mom talking to me later that day, explaining to me that my father hadn't missed a day of work in 42 years, and that was the truth. No guilt in my family. Here I am, the greatest trumpet player that ever struck 8th grade, auditioning for my high school's top band. How proud I was. Here I am being told by the band director that I not only didn't make the top band, I didn't make any band at all because I couldn't read music. What a dork. Here I am begging for sympathy from my mother by crying to her about how bad I am as a trumpet player. And here's Mom showing no sympathy at all by agreeing with me and telling me to go to the garage to practice, since it was quite obvious that I can't play well enough to play inside the house. There's that word again. This was one of those times that sticks out in my memory banks, like the time I called my girlfriend by the wrong name during a moment of passion. Can't, huh? Well, whatever. Here's a shot of me graduating from graduate school. Remember, nobody in my family ever went to high school, but they got me through graduate school. And here's another one of me as a guest soloist with the Boston Pops under Arthur Fiedler, but I can't play. Here's a shot of my dad crying during that concert. I never saw him do that before, and never saw him do it since. And of course, you know, men aren't supposed to cry. Right. Here I'm being drafted into the Army and being told by my Army recruiter that I can't play the trumpet in the Army because I got to go to Vietnam. Here I am in Washington, D.C. playing with the United States Army Band, not in Vietnam. Can't, huh? Here are two of my colleagues explaining to me 12 years ago that I really shouldn't bother going to Atholton High School because they've never had a really successful program. Both of them have taught there before, and it was too hard to do, and I really can't make a program work at Atholton High School. I love to hear that word. It's such motivation. And here's the last slide of the evening. Here I am telling the graduating class of '96 that it is very difficult out there in the world, and so you probably can't make a difference and improve our society for your children. I wonder what glorious pictures you will have to show the changing world in years to come. Thank you so very much for everything, students. You're wonderful. Good skills. I love you guys. I love you.
The Atholton High School class of 1996 comes before us with many accomplishments. This is indeed a class that has fulfilled the mission and objectives of the Howard County Public School System. Seated among our graduates are 2 National Merit finalists, 6 National Commended Scholars, and 10 Maryland Distinguished Arts students. We have 1 young lady, Ms. Tara Brown, who has maintained a 4.0 average throughout her entire high school career. Two of our students have maintained perfect attendance, one of whom has had perfect attendance from kindergarten to this very day, Mr. Neil Green. Our students have won science fair awards throughout this country and beyond, including the International Science Fair Award by Mr. Marty Majori. In addition to local colleges, our students plan to attend such schools as Cornell, Princeton, and the University of Virginia. The accomplishments are too numerous to detail. However, it is important to note that this class has earned over $1 million in scholarship offers. It is also important to note that from 9 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. every Wednesday, this class has consumed over 200 boxes of Dunkin' Donuts. And that's an inside joke. If you don't understand it, one of the graduates will explain it to you. Mrs. Cook, as principal of Atholton High School, I hereby certify to you that the 293 graduates seated before you have met the requirements as outlined by the Howard County Public School System and the State Department of Education to be awarded the Maryland High School Diploma. Thank you.
Good evening. Parents, friends, and honored guests, and graduates. I would like to express my sincere congratulations to the graduates and to bring greetings from the Department of Education. First, I'd like to pass on something that was told to me by one of my colleagues, Dr. Sidney Cousin. I think it's a very important piece of information. He taught me something about a graduation address. He said there's 4 things you have to remember. 1, there should be a beginning. 2, there should be a middle. 3, there should be an end. And 4, the beginning and end should be fairly close together. So I'll try to accomplish that. The commencement is a time for pride and celebration. We at the department would like to say that we are proud of each of you and congratulate you in all of your accomplishments. The future presents a challenge to each of us. During the last 13 years, you have gained certain skills, knowledge, and attitudes to prepare you for this challenge. However, it is imperative that you continue to expand your competency. It is only through being competent and knowing the course of action which will produce the greatest good that the challenges of the future can be met. The speakers tonight have done a number of things to focus us on this. First of all, David Messick recognized that the many accomplishments of the class. He pointed out the number of scholars, the number of music awards that have been won, other extracurricular activity awards, and he really focused us on why we should celebrate the past. Virginia provided us with a sense of the state of our society, and she took a look at it from a very humorous viewpoint. Virginia also provided us with a word of encouragement to leave this world a little better than we received it. She talked to us about seizing all opportunities to live, to learn, and to keep your energy. Mr. Stevens talked to us initially about what is the big deal. Most of us up here were trying to figure out where the pictures were while he was talking about what the big deal was, but we seem to be the only ones foolishly. He also pointed out to us that life is a series of developments, one after another, and that you have, as graduates, will need to continue your development. You'll be confronted with change. He presented it not as a threat, but as a promise. He pointed out, in his own words, that change should be looked upon not as something to fear, but as an opportunity. I'd like to interject, as far as change goes, that for the graduates, the prediction is that you in your lifetime will change careers 8 times. Not jobs, careers. It's like me leaving the field of education and becoming an attorney or a medical doctor or something of that nature. You will change careers, not jobs. But most importantly, Lee pointed out to us that you need to eliminate the word can't. I encourage you to continue to set goals that will produce the greatest good for you, your family, and society. If you choose to make this a better place and accomplish this goal, you will have accomplished a great deal. I would also like to wish you the highest level of success in all future endeavors. And again, congratulations. And if you haven't guessed by now, I am not Mrs. Cook. But I would like to introduce Mrs. Cook, who is the chairperson of the Board of Education, who will address the graduates and present the diplomas. Mrs. Cook.
Good evening. It is an honor and a privilege to be with you on this day of celebration. As chairman of the Board of Education, I bring greetings and congratulations to the class of 1996. Graduation is change and transition. It brings pain and anxiety. It is also the beginning of a wonderful and exciting adventure called the rest of your life. Attack life with a vengeance. Absorb the knowledge and the wisdom that your elders and your peers have to offer. Take pride in your accomplishments, but also remember to enjoy life along the way. Laugh, love, and live, for too often we all take life too seriously. The ability to laugh or at least chuckle over our own idiosyncrasies is at times our only saving grace, and it's a wonderful, wonderful gift that you give to each other in times of need. I want to close with a quote from Delegate Walter Fauntleroy, District of Columbia, from a speech delivered at Howard University, and I quote, "The past is yours, learn from it. The present is